All right, sweet. Thanks, Jess. We have Jess David today, Director of Marketing at 76 Capital, Forbes 30 under 30. Jess, how you doing today?
Great. How are you?
I'm
Thanks so much
doing
for
great.
having me.
No, please. The pleasure is all mine. You're the one that gets to work with all the cool athletes
Appreciate
and
it.
Wayne. I just met Wayne the other night. He was incredible. Very excited to talk to you about him a little bit.
Yep.
But the first question I always got to ask Jess is, why do you love sports?
Who doesn't, first of all?
Great,
um,
great answer.
yeah. So it's for me, it's always been something that brought my family together. I'm, from New York, big Italian family, and every weekend, it was get together, play lacrosse, play basketball, softball, and that's really just what sparked my interest early on was getting to get together with all my aunts, uncles, and cousins and play the game.
Big New York family. You got to love it. And
Yeah.
I won't tell anybody
Uh-huh.
down at 76. In case anyone was wondering, 76, 1776, there's a huge thing. It's based in Philadelphia.
hmm
So I won't out you too much. So who are your favorite teams though? Well, you know what? Let's do it. We'll out you. Who are your
Oh,
favorite
they
teams?
know.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
but just in case.
Yep. Big Yankees fan. Grew up mostly on baseball. And once I moved here to Pennsylvania, I had to follow along my husband's favorite teams. So we're a big Flyers family.
Oh, I was just at the
Yeah.
Flyers game this past weekend. They won. It was
Nice.
fun.
Yeah.
That's about as
Was it the
much. That's
overtime game you were at?
no, it was this one Winnipeg. So this was on Saturday, so 2 days ago as
Got
of
it.
recording, and yeah, Philadelphia. I guess that's. I'm not going to say anything nice about it, but
Yep.
I guess that is what it is. So I was doing a little bit of research because that's kind of what I have to do with this stuff. So you love sports. Always thought it was really interesting. Big New York family. Now you're working down in Philadelphia, but your background
Yep.
originally started in graphic design. What is
Yes.
it? You're director of marketing, so I want to kind of see how all these pieces, this puzzle fits together. But what was it about graphic design that made you want to, head in, start your own freelance gig, go to school for it, do the whole nine?
Yep. Thank you. That's a great question. I actually did start going to college at James Madison University on a business scholarship. So I was always into business, finance primarily, studied marketing as well, and was doing art on the side. Like I needed to have that creative outlet. So when I switched over to graphic design, I kind of found that to be like the perfect mix of left and right brain, creative and analytical. It wasn't painting for painting's sake, which I appreciate, but I'm no good at. So I needed a reason to design something, and graphic design was that perfect medium. Through my freelance work, which you mentioned, and some of my first full-time gigs after college, I ended up in the marketing department at a lot of these in-house, organizations, and learned a lot about business development, a lot about marketing. I was with Pennsylvania Department of Education for about 6 years, doing communications and public relations. I always say learning how to do things the right way when you're in government, and then went
Oh,
to
I
VC
bet.
to
Yeah.
learn how to do things, my own way. So that's really what led me to this position.
That
Yeah.
is that is really cool. I mean, graphic design has always been, I it's for whatever reason, I always had friends that were, in graphic design, and it was always kind of looked at like, oh yeah, you're painting for painting's sake, right? And
Yep.
and but there's so much now, obviously being in business and being in like, the real world, we'll call it, for the last few years, understanding that the image and how it works and the colors you use and why you use them
Yep.
and where everything's placed, there is so much that goes into it, especially on the business end of it, that I think it makes a lot of sense how you were able to kind of make that transition. And here's another question. You had a
hmm
business scholarship, moved over to graphic design. Did you lose that business
Yep.
scholarship by any chance?
Luckily, it was just for that first year while I was there,
All
so I got what I
right.
needed out of
Yes,
it,
there we go. There
and
you
then
go. Parents are
picked to
happy.
what I
Parents are
really wanted to
happy.
do. Yep.
That is
It
pretty
was
cool. Yeah,
perfect.
and again, as you said, it led you in multiple different directions, led you to where you
Yep.
are now, which is really cool. And translating, learning the PR, learning the marketing aspects of
Yep.
it, and really being able to use your design to then take advantage of all those things you've learned and really put them out on the paper. So you did start, you did a bunch of freelance work, and one of the companies I saw, it said NASA, and then thankfully you did write out the actually,
Yes.
aeronautic, blah blah blah. Thank you for doing that, because I would have been like, oh, NASA, that's cool. I'm really curious who got that name. What was it like working with NASA? Like,
Yep.
what exactly were you doing for them?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks for doing a deep dive on that one. That was actually a project that I won when I was studying graphic design in college and working for the Pennsylvania Department of Education, like I mentioned. So they were hiring some outside designers to design a series of posters for space camp. So I got to do some really creative and innovative mock-ups around getting young girls and boys interested in being astronomers in the future. So it was a really fun one.
That does sound like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And again, throwing NASA on a resume never hurt.
Yes.
I'm assuming
It was
barely
good.
ever hurts. But honestly, I love space. Always been interested in stars and planets and all that stuff. Bought my
Yep.
friend a telescope this last year for Christmas. I have another friend who works for Jet Propulsion
Nice.
Laboratory, who is a contractor of NASA. So I call him up and I just ask
That's
him what's
awesome.
going on in the world of space today.
Yeah.
So that's always fun too. But no, that's why it stuck with me because I'm a very big nerd in that way,
Appreciate
and I always think it's
it.
funny. So with with starting your freelance gig and working for the Department of Education over in Pennsylvania, let's hang out there for a little bit
Yep.
longer. How much did you love working in the government?
Yeah, so it was
Honestly though,
actually
like honestly, how much
yeah,
did you
yeah.
know? I'm kidding.
I
I'm kidding.
really luckily when I started, it was for a company called the Chester County Intermediate Unit, which is liaison between the state and the programs that public school doesn't offer in their facilities. So like young parents programs, special education programs, really the give back programs that made you feel like going into work was actually bettering people's lives every day. And when I started, it was such a small department. They had never had a graphic designer before. I really had a lot of creative freedom, and I credit that to my two former bosses who I still see one every month. We have a standing dinner. It's been
Very
years
cool.
now. Yeah, because I really credit a lot of their willingness to give me creative freedom to try a bunch of things there. And we helped build that department from 5 people to 15. So by the time I
Whoa.
left, I was, still in my early 20s. It was right after college, and I was the third longest tenured person in the department just because we had the ability to build it from the ground up.
That's
So
pretty
it was
cool.
pretty cool.
And how
Yeah.
much confidence did that give you knowing that you were able to see something come essentially from the ground up and know like, hey,
Yep.
okay, I was here in the beginning. I helped build this thing all the way up. I mean, it's tripled
Yep.
in size essentially. How much confidence did that give you when you were going out looking for new job opportunities?
That's a great question. And it's really exactly what I was looking for in every opportunity thereafter. So when I first graduated from college, I applied to, I think, 75 jobs and just took
Ooh.
every interview I
Oh
could
my
get.
goodness.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I was
Listen,
really
kids,
looking for
apply to
something
everything, take
specific.
all the
Yeah,
interviews. Yes, yes. Love it. Love it. Love it.
exactly. It was good to have practice, and it was good to ask questions and see what types of responses I would get, to really see if I could, play one group against the other and just see like where the differences lie within organizations. That's fun for me. And it was really helpful to sort of dig in on all these different businesses to see where I could find another fit like what I had at CCIU. And I really did find that at a company called Meyer Design, which is interiors and architecture design agency. And similarly, I was their first graphic designer, went to the marketing department. They wanted somebody who could build something. And we did just that. We built a new billable branding studio within the firm that could hire for graphic design work for their existing clients and bring in some new revenue and build a team there as well. So super exciting.
Look at you. My goodness.
Yeah.
Architecture, design,
Yep.
billable revenue. Look at all these words you're
Yep.
throwing out there. No, I think it's really cool how you've been able to take now multiple and I'm assuming you're well on your way with 76, which I think is pretty cool and we'll get there. But really be able to take all the knowledge you've been able to take in and then utilize it because everybody can learn, right? Everybody,
Yeah.
that's always a good one. Everybody's got a great idea, you just have to actually execute on it because nobody
Yep.
actually executes on their ideas. So I think it's really important being able to see, and for everyone out there listening and understanding how you've been able to take that. So going from education, so you're
Hmm.
very I'll use it, very slow paced world of government,
Yep.
going now into an agency, architectural agency. How much was that a kind of just complete brain flop, switch around, turn everything, and now you're able to pretty much just start running and gunning, or were they still a little bit held back, kind of like a conservative governmental agency?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So it was
Thank
kind
you
of a
for
mix.
all the great questions. You don't have to say
Yeah,
that
of
anymore.
course.
My ego is
No,
stoked
no,
enough, Jess.
stop
Do not
it.
worry.
You've done your work for sure. Yeah, it was kind of a mix because you were dealing with project managers that have been there for 25 plus years since the firm was, created, and then a smaller marketing department that was just being formed. So my direct manager had only been there for 6 months, I believe, before I got there. So she was really up for innovating and trying new things, but we both were like the newbies in the firm, trying to convince everybody else who had been there for so long that there was a better way of doing things. And that's always a tough conversation to have, even with the best and the brightest minds, depending on, what situation you're in. So a lot of it was really figuring out how to creatively present solutions that would be taken by 10 different project managers with 10 different personalities and 10 different sets of expectations and goals and all of that, and really figure out how to pitch to each one. I'm sure you do the same thing, when you're pitching clients with athletes or athletes to represent them. It's really about figuring out what works for you. How can I prove to you what I'm trying to do is, going to serve both of us. And once we started growing the firm, they made the Philadelphia Soaring 76 list of the fastest growing businesses in the Philadelphia region. Once we saw the clients just come in and really hit our targets, I don't know how much I'm allowed to disclose or not, a lot higher percentages than the industry average, people were convinced, and it made the job a lot easier.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say, once you can start seeing dollars come in, that's the most important thing. But
exactly.
I think you
Yes.
helping a company, as you said, that's been around for 25 years now reach
Hmm.
this list, which I don't know if they've ever been on it before, or if it's been
Yep.
something that they've coveted, or however it works. Um, I think it's hugely important to just show again, if you can, as you said, you have to
Yep.
show value, but you have to show it in their terms. What is someone else
Hmm.
looking for? We all know that we can bring value to the table,
Yep.
but what's the value they're looking for? Now let's kind of move those numbers, not move the numbers. That's never a really good way of saying it,
Yeah.
but let's present the numbers. There we go. In a
Yeah.
way that makes sense to them. As you said, 10 different project managers, 10 different people, 10 different goals. But your goal is,
Yep.
hey, this is what people are doing now. And I'm going to show you we can make money. And that's one thing that you always hear if you want to work in sports, which is obviously the part we're going to get to in a second. If you want to work in sports, show how you can directly benefit the bottom
Yep.
line. If you can do that, you're going to get hired in some way, shape, or form.
Exactly.
That's just how it works. So after Meyer or Myers, I apologize.
Meyer.
Meyer. Okay. So you're at
Yep.
Meyer for a couple of years, right? And you
Yep.
help build another team. You help get them on
Yep.
these lists, make them a bunch of money, higher than the industry average. I'll ask you off air just exactly what that means. But
Sure.
this is 2016-ish.
It was, yep,
Okay.
2016.
And then
Yep.
so now you're going out and now you're looking at some new positions potentially, and
Yep.
one of them just caught your eye. So is this
Yeah.
this second time around, again, going from Department of Education now to my, like, what was specific, as you said, you were specifically looking for jobs before. What were you looking for this third time around?
Yeah, so ironically enough, I wasn't exactly looking, but 76 Capital was a client of mine while I was at Meyer.
Ah, look at that.
Yeah, exactly. So I had worked with Wayne and Chad, who are still here on the team with me, to pitch Microsoft the opportunity to bring a free and accessible to everyone innovation center in Center City, Philadelphia. And while our architecture team was designing the building and doing the fit out, I was designing the marketing material. We designed an app just for fun, and different ways
Just
of
for
presenting.
fun. Get out of
Yeah,
here.
just different ways to pitch Microsoft the idea that they should buy into this. The project was a success, and Microsoft came into the city. And I stayed in touch with Chad, who is a fellow JMU alum, and he invited me to join the Philadelphia Dukes Alumni Club, which is, what we call ourselves down in Virginia. And we stayed in touch. And when this job posting came up, I considered myself to be not qualified. I made a million reasons why I wasn't good enough for a director of marketing position at a venture capital firm. It just seemed like this crazy, goal that I would never be able to reach, even though I had an in with these guys because I had worked with them and I felt like prove myself a little bit. And it was really one night at dinner, my husband and my parents just, I think they were in cahoots and they totally just ganged up on me and were like, you have this, you can do this, go call Chad right now. So I ran upstairs and I called him and I said, hey, can we get together and talk about this? I really think I could bring some value here and I'll, do anything I can to prove it. Wayne was speaking at an event in my town and I just showed up and did the job as if I already had it and just helped prove that I could do it.
That is
Yeah.
awesome. I love it. Look at that. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a lot of relationships, a lot of networking,
Yep.
and nice that your family and husband really were like, no, we think
Yes.
let's gang up on her a little bit. It's
Yeah.
only dinner, right? You have one every night. That's pretty cool. Um,
Exactly.
so that is really interesting. So you said Wayne was at a show and you showed up like you already had the job. What exactly does that
Yep.
mean to you? Like, what were you doing? How were you marketing him without even being? How are you
Yep.
director of marketing him without even being in the firm?
Yeah, so part of the job description included doing social media, even though, there's a laundry list longer than what I can even describe here of what I help do on a day to day. But one of the listings said social media. So I said, okay, I'm going to go to this event and I'm going to pretend that I'm doing his Twitter, his Facebook, his LinkedIn, YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram, and took all these photos, all these videos, and just drafted things and saved them, drafted them and saved them, and then put together a report afterwards and said, here's what your day would have looked like if I was logged into your
That's
accounts. Uh,
awesome.
so that was the idea.
That is brilliant. Again, anyone out there listening, that is
Yeah.
so smart, Jess. I love that idea.
Thanks.
And I
It was
assume
cool.
it, I mean, you got the job, so obviously, but
Yes.
what was the reaction like from him, from Chad, and Chad really knowing like, hey, you're interested in the position, and now Wayne
Yeah.
figuring that out, obviously too.
Yeah, it was great from both of them. It was also the first time I got to meet John Powell, which was a really amazing interaction because I had seen him, at Meyer at lunches and different business settings, but never in the capacity that I was working on with 76. So it was just really great to get in front of those guys and then to be able to follow up with something tangible is always better. And, I try to take for granted that I'm in more of a visual industry where I can physically show you how I can get the job done. But I would, obviously recommend to anybody that's trying to prove something to show it rather than say it. So that was
It
my strategy.
it clearly
Yeah.
worked. As I said, I
Yeah.
was just at an event with Wayne. He was fantastic,
Yep.
and someone brought up a question about betting, and he went off, and it was
Yeah.
awesome. So very, very intrigued. But okay, now let's actually take a second. What exactly is 76 Capital? Again, based in
Sure.
Philly. Wayne Kimmel,
Yep.
Ryan Howard, somewhere involved in this
Yep.
process. What exactly do you guys do, and how do you do it?
Yeah. So we are a venture capital firm that's completely focused on sports, technology and traditional sports, eSports, and sports betting. So Wayne started the company 20 years ago and was focused on consumer facing technology in retail and health, and did a really incredible job in his first two funds. Had companies like Indiegogo, Grubhub, um, the Take Care Health Systems. And the last few years, we saw this trend in sports where the physical and digital aspects were completely converging. With John Powell's background in traditional retail and real estate, he had 30 million square feet of retail under his purview, and had recently sold a lot of his holdings, including the King of Prussia Mall, and saw the similar trend from physical to digital. They saw sports as really being the piece that unified all of them, and then of course Ryan being who he is kind of sealed the deal for all three. And as we shifted our focus and invested in very early stage companies, we had huge success so far with our portfolio companies like Nerd Street Gamers and Swish Analytics, Shot Tracker, Diamond Kinetics. They're some of the top performing in their industries. Right now, we're going to market with our second fund, looking
That
for
is
more startups to invest in.
Let's go. Well, if I can find you
Yeah,
one, just I don't know,
thank you.
whatever the finder's fee is, I'm interested in it. But with that, I guess why why did you want to work in sports? I know obviously you guys are doing a lot of different things over there at
Yep,
76, and part of it, I mean, it's centered around sports, but it's obviously finance, right? And one thing people always forget is there's a lot of things you can do and still work in the industry of sports. So was it
yep.
was it specifically the company? Was it specifically the people, or was that extra layer of sports just kind of something that put it over the top for you?
Yeah, I know I said it before, but I'll say it again. That's a good question. I
Thank you,
actually
thank you,
came
thank you.
into this. Uh, I actually came into this with a passion for finance and business, really looking to get into venture capital, and the fact that it was sports related actually didn't come into play until I accepted the job, because it was a secret that we had an athlete joining until I signed the papers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Plus Philadelphia, and you're in New
So
York, and you don't want anyone to know.
exactly.
I get it. I get it. I get it.
That's what I'm like, I definitely don't know who the athlete is. There's no way. Like, I pay attention to a different level of sports up where I'm from. But no, it was actually, really exciting to hear that when I signed on, we would be transitioning our brand and our positioning from traditional venture capital to venture capital in sports. So that was, like you said, there's a million and one things you can do in sports, but finance is exciting to be one of them.
And making money is another one. So
Yeah.
was it, so you knew, I assume, that the process was going on? Obviously, being the director of marketing, that's going to be a huge
Yep.
undertaking for you.
Yes.
So what were those first, I mean, you've been there for a few years now, obviously
Hmm.
2016-ish timeframe. So four
Yep.
years, congrats. What
Thank you.
what was that first little bit of time like, really, again, just trying to figure out, how are we going to now put ourselves out there and
Yeah.
let people know, like, now we are sports focused, and now this is what we're kind of doing moving forward, even though we were super successful for the last, I
Hmm.
don't know, 15 years, what we were doing. Now we're going to try something different.
Yep. Yeah, it was really about highlighting the individual successes of each of the members of our executive team, whether that's Wayne, John, Ryan, Chad, or myself, and proving, through, like you said, the right marketing, the right messaging, the right plan of action, that these, different successes in different industries would be able to accumulate to this success in sports. And it's definitely hard to communicate that vision when you don't have a track record, quote unquote, in that exact niche. But now we do, and it's made things a lot easier. Conversation. I can throw out names like I did before, and people have some idea of what I'm talking about. So that helps.
Yeah, Shot Tracker, Diamond Kinetics, absolutely. Nerd Street Games. I
Yeah.
learned a little bit about that, and Wayne was
Nice.
glowingly talking about it over at the event that I saw him at the other night. But yeah, I mean, I guess for you especially, new rebrand, a
Yep.
rebrand, new to the position. How heavy was that undertaking, especially trying to go back? I mean, we're not talking
Yep.
venture capital, VC. That just means, I don't know, like 9 zeros to me, and a
Yeah.
couple commas. Like, I don't, like, actually know what it means, but, like, what's it like, making sure that people now, especially the elite, or whoever is investing, that
Yeah.
it's like, hey, like, no, 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 we got this. Don't worry. We did it before. We'll do it again. Now we just have Ryan Howard and John Powell, as you've been speaking about,
Yep.
on our team to help lead that way into that foreground.
Yeah. Brand audits are one of my favorite things to do. So
Yay! Look at
really,
that.
exactly. I love building things from the ground up, as you can tell by my my career trajectory and the different things that I decided to take on just for fun, and really helping to shape the narrative and getting all ideas across the board, and then being able to kind of pick out the gems from, you know, of 20 things that we think are our key differentiators. What are really the three that get the message across quickly and clearly? And that's my favorite thing, is going through those exercises. And for really any brand, no matter how old or how young, that's an important exercise to do. We try to do that quarterly here, just to make sure that we're all on the same page and coming to the table with new ideas, and not just, repeating ourselves over and over again.
Yes, just repeating
Yeah.
yourself over and over gets kind of boring. And I think it's
Yeah.
kind of funny, as you said, quickly and clearly, but you came from the
Hmm.
government world. So it's always really
Yeah.
interesting. I mean, if you learned how to do something there, you definitely learned how to do it in a
Yeah.
new way. And I guess now transitioning into this role, you go through the rebrand. As I said, you've been here for a few years now. So what is it like moving
Yep.
forward, and especially with betting now becoming legal and
Yep.
esports jumping up? I mean, yeah, 4 years ago, people paid attention to it, but I don't think it's anything like what it's been, especially the last couple years. Maybe I've been under a rock, I don't know. But what was that like? So not quite another rebrand, but definitely a little bit of, I don't know,
Yep.
do you want to call it a pivot, maybe like an extra avenue? I don't know. You market me, Jess.
Yeah.
Market me.
Yeah, no, it definitely is somewhat of a pivot. And even you mentioned like 4 years ago when I first started, we were already looking into esports and doing a ton of research and due diligence just on the industry itself to better understand what the opportunities were, let alone, where we should put our capital. And the same for sports betting. So we had actually been in the process of due diligence with a couple of companies, including VSiN, our sports betting and media network, before PASPA was overturned. So once it was overturned, we had already really understood the level of seriousness that this new industry would bring to our business model. And Wayne and Chad were on a plane the next day in Las Vegas, meeting with all of these companies that we had been researching and discussing, and really just dove right into the due diligence process. They're the types of people that don't just sit on the sidelines and wait for something to happen. That's just inherently not our business. So they're, in the weeds trying to figure out exactly what the possibilities are with, operational experts, legal experts, regulators, and the incumbents, just to see, what's on the horizon. And then of course the entrepreneurs themselves that are building things that we can't even think of.
Yeah, then that we
Yeah.
shout out to them. We love them.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part about networking at these sport events, especially ones that Wayne and I've seen you at a few of them. Just
Yep.
some of the things people think of just blows my mind that was
Crazy.
even like a thought somebody had, let alone going out and executing it. I love just having those conversations. I think it's so cool. And I guess from your point of view, again, going back, I want to make sure we're focusing this a lot on marketing. How much, when you got there, how much did you start with the esports part
Sure.
of it? How much did you personally start with sports betting, or with betting not really becoming legal in many states till what, into 2018 anyway? Like,
Yep.
how much did you kind of lean into that a little bit, or how much did you kind of just hold back and wait for, for those alarms to go off?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good point that in marketing, it's part of our job not only to get the message out about what we do, but to also be educated on the industry in general. I spoke on a panel about esports a couple of weeks ago in Philadelphia, and I'm speaking about sports betting at our event on March 6th in Atlantic City. And if I don't have the basics of, just what's going on in those industries, it can be really bad. So it is just as important for the marketing department of any organization to keep up on trends and just to know exactly what's going on, especially in sports betting. State by state, there are so many, little nuances between the laws and regulations. It's really important to just stay up on all of that stuff as we're going out to market. And we actually say the same for every level of whomever you are in our company. It's a very small team here, and we all do a lot. We wear a lot of hats. So our investment associates are just as in tune with what's going on the marketing side as we are with their deal flow usually, and we have to kind of keep that open line of communication to make sure that we're all marketing the right way.
I love it. I love it. And yeah, if
Yeah.
you have to know the information, as you said, because you then have to educate. And how
Yep.
quickly, like, were you marketing the esports and the betting right as you kind of came in, or was that something, did you wait till betting became a little bit more accepted and legal, and esports really started to at least start to trickle into the normal lexicon of the daily life?
Yeah, so we usually wait until we have an investment in that industry to market it as an industry that we invest in, unless it is something that we're really actively searching for. So even within sports betting or esports, we're looking very closely at different companies in data collection, data analytics, media, markets, and we'll advertise that because we are looking for more companies in those types of industries. But to your point, early on when we were still kind of figuring things out, I had that list a little less refined and
Yes,
don't
yes.
think I would have put it on the website. But now, as we're relaunching our website in the coming months, all of that will be even much more transparent because we've really kind of refined our craft.
I
Yeah.
love it. And what about, again, Wayne? I just met him the other night, so he was so much fun just to listen to. When you hear
Yeah.
someone that's super passionate about something, I don't care what they're talking about. I just want to continue to listen. So, what does it say to you that someone that was extremely successful doing what he did decided, you
Hmm.
know what? No, I think there's another way that I can be even more successful. What does it say
Yep.
to you and the team that someone that has done so much is willing to really rebrand their company, themselves,
Yep.
who they are, and totally change course? I mean, same, like, obviously the venture capital part, the number part, but really just be able to kind of change course like that and still crush it,
Yep.
I guess. That's awesome.
Yeah, to be able to see the way he has repositioned the massive network that he's built in venture capital towards sports and it actually apply is really what keeps all of us going, because he'll make connections and connect the dots in ways that most people don't even think or would never even think is a possibility. So he really empowers everybody to make those types of connections, and he puts himself on the line. He puts all of his resources out on the line for anybody to use. And if we can take something from him and make it happen for the better of all of us, then we do that. He's just really great and really helpful at doing that for the team.
I think
Yeah.
that is
And
awesome.
spending 5 minutes with him is like having a cup of coffee. So
Yeah,
um,
yeah, really
it's,
juiced. Yeah, it was
it's
like a
amazing.
it's like a 7:30 event. I was pretty juiced up, even
Yeah.
traveling into the city, walking all around, doing all that. I was ready to run through a brick wall. So
Yeah.
I bet that's Monday morning. I guess that's super easy for you guys.
Yep.
Let him
There's
talk
our
for a
team
couple
meetings
minutes
Monday
and
mornings. I'm
let's
good for the
go.
week.
Oh, I love it. That is super awesome. Um, so What with a lot of the things, so you brought it up earlier, the really what caught their attention for you was the Microsoft, that
Mhm.
project that you described before. Explain it again. So it was Microsoft was going to have like a huge innovation center, you called it?
Yep. Yeah. So it was a free, accessible to everybody in the community, innovation center. They do have one in New York, and I believe on the West Coast. And we were trying to convince them that one in Philadelphia was worth the time.
Not that bad. Now,
Yeah.
what was there a so this was before you were brought on, so there was no like
Yep.
esports tilt or anything to it, right? It was just strictly
Nope.
like, hey, like we're just here to help the community, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. I
Yep.
just
And that
wanted
was
to.
really to help bring tech to the underserved community of West
Mhm.
Philadelphia. That was the goal.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean that's
Yeah.
awesome. Bring tech everywhere because as we said, there's
Yeah.
smart people out there doing things that we've never even thought of, and they're crushing it.
Yep.
So, what are other opportunities, especially now in the sports space, and that you guys at 76 are really trying to take advantage of in making sure that you're also giving back to the community, or you're investing in companies that are coming from these underserved areas, or anything like that, just to make sure that
Yeah.
you're really spreading your wings to make sure you're touching upon everything. Because as you said, Wayne has an incredible network, but I'm sure he's always interested in
Yeah.
meeting more people.
Oh, always. Yeah, I mean, in terms of giving back to the community, but also, investing in forward-facing industries, Nerd Street Gamers is the best example of any of our portfolio companies that are doing that because their entire mission is based around accessibility in a new up-and-coming sport that is very expensive to get access to, whether that's internet access, the equipment, to even have a place to play, 5-on-5 if that's certain games that you're playing, the facilities themselves. So for them, it's really about making it esports accessible to everyone. They have local host venues around the country. They run a national championship series that is free or very inexpensive to enter. And as long as you're good enough, you can keep leveling up. And they're really about making that accessible to everybody because now there are scholarships and a whole wealth of opportunities that an esports player can access. But if you don't have access to that high quality equipment or the fastest internet, how are you supposed to really compete? So
Exactly.
they have a place in my heart.
I love it.
Yeah.
No, 100%. And I think it's really cool. Again, Wayne was talking about it, so I wanted to make sure. I wanted to tee
Yeah.
up. I knew the answer to the question. I wanted to tee
Thank
up a
you.
little bit. I wasn't sure if
Appreciate
the
it.
Microsoft Center had too much to do with that, but I just think it's so cool that even with venture capital, I don't. I'm not here to paint pictures with a broad
Sure.
brush or anything, but it's always kind of looked at as rich people doing rich people things. But clearly, there's a
Yep.
lot of cool opportunities that are going on, and clearly you guys at 76 are taking advantage of that. And then, so we talked a lot about Wayne, but like, what about some of the athletes? I know you obviously, again,
Yep.
Ryan Howard. I know you guys have a really cool intern program. Let's start with Ryan a little bit and then kind of
Sure.
trickle our way down. What has it meant for you to be able to work with someone like him that, yeah, even though Wayne's been hyper successful in what he does, now you have
Yeah.
someone that's been very community focused. I mean, dude won an MVP, a World Series. Like, we're not messing around. Everybody in baseball pretty much knows who this guy is. What's it like to pretty much call him a coworker and a friend
Yeah.
at this point?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's really about helping him and the other athletes that are in our athlete venture group redefine their brand as more than an athlete. They have such a wealth of experience in sports. They have the capital to back it up. They have social capital to help get the word out there, and they have a mission and a drive that is really unparalleled in a lot of roles. So for them to come into business and put everything that they have towards their sport now towards business and helping startups grow, we've really been able to see the athletes in our athlete venture group latch on to certain companies and want to do everything they can to help them. And that's the best feeling for me when I find an athlete like Brian Westbrook or Ralph Sampson or DeMarco Murray who really want to help entrepreneurs see their dreams come true because they've been able to make theirs come true, on the field or on the court, whatever it may be. It's been a really rewarding experience to work with them.
Another great
Yeah.
Monday morning meeting, I bet,
Ex-
right? Letting
yes.
these athletes just kind of talk to you for a couple
Yep.
minutes, get juiced. I mean, that they did it in
Yeah.
multiple different ways now, and I just think it's so cool. And the athlete venture group just sounds like so much fun. Getting to see these athletes, as you said, works extremely hard now in something completely different. Working with these startups,
Yep.
so working with these startups, what exactly does that mean? Is this something like, and I guess
Sure.
I'm sure it's a spectrum in some case, but like, how exactly do these athletes work with the startups? Is it capital? Is it brand ambassadorship? Like, what are some of the things that they do?
Yeah, so in our athlete venture group, athletes will invest in our fund so that they have some skin in the game and a little bit of equity in every company that's within our portfolio. So it helps diversify, but also helps, them be able to say that they have all of these companies part ownership. And when I ask or call on a favor or whatnot, they're part owners, so it really does benefit them as well. But in terms of their, the effort they put into the companies, it's usually social media, events, marketing, like PR or interviews, and a lot of business development support and just networking and like I said, connecting the dots. So one of the best stories that I have is really when Ralph Sampson was in Kansas City with our company Shot Tracker. And, 7'4" tall Ralph Sampson garners a bit of attention, especially when he has a shot tracker ball in his hand. And the one of the founders of Shot Tracker, Davion, was with him and had been really, really working with CBS trying to get a deal for them to have the Shot Tracker enabled balls on their broadcast. And it took 2 seconds of a former teammate of Ralph's who works at CBS now to see Ralph and say, "Oh, you're involved with this company. I had no idea." It's a trustworthy introduction. So he made sure Davion, met that individual, and a few months later, Shot Tracker is on CBS. So it's really just getting to that level of trust, like I said, and recognition that helps connect dots that would have taken maybe months for them to get through.
Yeah, that's a lot
Yeah.
of cold emails, a lot of cold phone calls
Yeah.
that they do not have to worry about anymore. I
Right.
mean, it's so true. Just like a warm introduction and the networking and the just the opportunities that come with, again, having hyper
Yeah.
famous people, especially in their in their sport, in their market, wherever it is, and seeing what it's possible by just a simple, hey, Ralph Sampson holding a ball, look at that, and now they're
Right.
on CBS kind of thing. So it's always really cool to kind of see how those dots connect, but also why those dots connected to. I think that is pretty awesome. And now I know also you explained this to me a little while ago, and I think it's absolutely incredible. I know you guys have a pretty cool internship program, right, with a lot of the
Yes.
athletes and helping
Yep.
them in multiple ways. If you don't mind explaining that a little bit too, I'd love
Yeah,
to
of
hear it.
course. Yeah, we've had a few athlete in residence, some that are studying for their MBA or some that are just trying to explore different industries outside of their sport. We've had NFL veterans, MLB veterans. We have a minor league baseball player that is interning with us right now, and really just help transition and learn the venture capital industry as much as the athlete wants. So if he or she is available in person as much as possible or remotely, we're really good about finding different things that pursue their interests. We actually have a form on our website, athleteventuregroup.com, if anybody's interested in checking it out. And it is open to college and professional athletes as well, active and former.
I think it's
Yeah.
awesome just being able to help them in so many different ways now. Obviously, again,
Yep.
working with the athletes directly, investing in sports and technology companies, and now allowing them to just learn from you
Yeah.
guys. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure you told me a story of you had someone with you for a significant period of time, and
Yes.
then you then helped that gentleman land a job with one of the companies in your fund, right? Something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Brendan Harris played in the MLB for, I believe, 11 years and most recently worked for the Angels as a scout while he was getting his MBA at Wharton, while he was interning at 76 Capital. So super dedicated, hardworking individual, was commuting from DC area up here nights and weekends to get the job done. And when our portfolio company, Diamond Kinetics, had a position open for a liaison to MLB, it was just the perfect fit. He had just graduated with his MBA and was looking for a full-time gig, and it was just the perfect fit. Thanks for remembering that story.
No, I remember a lot of stuff. Terrible with names, great with faces. Jess, don't worry. I
Yeah,
have yours written down here, so I'm not going to forget it. But
all good.
no, I just think that's such a cool thing. Again, just working with so many different levels to all of this stuff. It's always nice to. It's not just
Yeah,
surface level. It is very clearly company culture, which is
yeah.
what you guys have built there. You guys, because you've been there for so long now, especially through this whole part. I mean, what you guys have been able to build just sounds like so much fun, and I just continuously keep seeing and
Thank
hearing your
you.
names pop up more and more and more. And one thing
Thank
that was
you.
only a couple months ago that popped up is somebody made it onto Forbes 30 under 30 list. Now, I don't know what list this is because
Thank you.
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of them now, but no, I kid, I kid. So what did that mean to you? Kind of being able to see that and feel that and hear that and say like, wow, okay, cool. Like a little extra, you
Thanks.
didn't need the recognition, but it's kind of nice when you get it, right?
It was definitely nice. It was one of those impossible goals that I set for myself, which I tend to do, as you can tell. Things that I would say are completely out of reach, or a dream within a dream, I set myself up for. And I like to also say I'm a persuasive writer. So I was just very clear at communicating why I thought, in this particular case, our athlete venture group was very innovative in the sports industry, and reached out to a lot of my contacts at Forbes to see if I was on the right path and just to make sure I was covering all my bases. And yeah, I was super fortunate um, for them to recognize me, but also to have a team that completely backed me up every step of the way. Really appreciate them too.
That is awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah.
After,
Thank you.
40 minutes hanging out here with you, it is very
Thank
clearly
you.
well deserved. You've done
Appreciate it.
an
Thank you.
immense amount before the age of 30. I think it is just absolutely incredible. So congratulations on that. And you brought it up for a second before. It was a nice little plug, but let's give it a real plug now. So this episode
Yes.
will be released on that first Monday of March, and on
Yep.
that Friday, the 6th, my dad's birthday, you will be having an event down in Atlantic City, which unfortunately I can't come to because that's like a 7-hour drive for me, there and back at least. So what? Tell me about the event because it sounds
Good.
absolutely incredible.
Yeah, thank you. So we are kicking off our Sports Innovation Meetup series, which is a micro version of our Sports Innovation Conference that we hold every year in November. The conference is a big deal, and we have usually over 400 attendees, and wanted to say, how can we bring together the community on a smaller scale with more intimate conversations throughout the rest of the year. So first in March 6th, like you said, we're kicking it off and having a sports betting conversation alongside the Maxwell Awards, where Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and Chase Young will all be honored that evening. And in the morning, you can come to our free event at the same venue and learn about marketing in the new era of sports betting. So we'll have Sharon Ottoman, the Chief Marketing Officer of William Hill, Aubrey Levy from The Score, and Josh Applebaum from VSiN, talking about their perspectives on marketing, branding in this new world of sports betting. And I'll be there to moderate the conversation. And hope everybody can join.
I'm you
76capital.com.
you might have just sold me. You might have just sold me. I might have to make my.
Yes.
I might get to make my just kind of. I'll figure something out because it sounds like too much fun. It sounds like the crowd's going to be incredible, especially with the Maxwell Awards. I
Yeah.
guess I didn't put two and two. You said it. I don't think I put two and two together to realize kind of what was going on. So I think it's awesome. And yeah, I think
Yep.
never mind. I think there's a good shot you will see me down there, Jess. And don't worry,
Awesome. I
I'm
hope
going to get
so.
all the links for all this stuff from you. Everything will be in the show notes. So anybody that's checking, make sure to go check it out because it should
Appreciate it.
be a lot of fun if you're in the Philly, New York, New Jersey area. It should be an absolute blast. So you said you love setting impossible goals.
Yeah.
Not trying to totally put you on the spot, but I get you. I
Sure.
let you know a little bit. What are some of the impossible goals that you're setting for yourself right now?
Yep.
Because clearly you take them down. Like it's not even a
Thank
question.
you.
You're crossing them off your
Appreciate
list.
it.
So what are some of those other crazy goals that you set that sound impossible now, but in 4 years I'll be
Thank
hearing,
you.
oh wow, Jess is running this entire Fortune 500 company. Would you look at that?
That would be a dream, and it would be if 76 Capital was one of them in the
That's
Fortune
true.
500, that would be ideal.
That's even more
um,
ideal. I love it.
yep, that is an impossible goal that we're trying to make possible. But more realistically, we are raising our second fund right now to continue raising it or investing in startups that are focused on sports, esports, and sports betting. So that is our utmost focus. It's a big undertaking for a small team, and I believe we have our goals set, and looking forward to making it happen.
That's one of the impossible goals, Jess, but I know you got more than one on your list. Don't give me that. Come on. Anything else? Any
That's
other?
funny.
No, we'll leave it with that one. Is that okay? Or you tell me. This is your story, not mine.
Yeah, we can
All
leave
right.
it with that one.
We'll
I
leave it
mean,
with
I
that
have
one.
personal, you mentioned that you love astronomy. I love astronomy too. And I always joke that I would love to be an astronaut, but I'm
Okay.
not smart enough. So I got NASA as a client, but we already
I
covered
was
that.
gonna say you have NASA as a client, and I have a friend that works on Mars,
Yeah,
so I can get that done. Believe
I
me. You
love it.
keep doing your thing. I'll go talk to my buddy Doug, and we'll get this all figured out. So, Jess, this was absolutely
Love it.
fantastic. Thank you so much. One last time, Jess David, Director of Marketing at 76 Capital, Forbes 30 under 30. Jess, please send me all over those notes so that way everybody can
Thank
make
you.
sure to go to the event, but also check you out online.
Will
Sounds
do.
good?
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.